Welcome back, all of you wonderful listeners who have come to appreciate the Justice League Revisited podcast. Hopefully you appreciate it. We don't want anyone hate listening to us by any means. And if you're a brand new listener, welcome to you. Hopefully you'll enjoy this episode and you'll go back and listen to the other ones. I am one half of the dynamic duo of this podcasting bunch, James Enstall of Geek to Me Radio, on the other side of the Zoom screen with her mic and her margarita. There she is, the voice of Wonder Woman, Susan Eisenberg. Hello!
Hello! How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well. I'm really excited for today's show. I'm really excited. Do you want to tell the kids who's on?
Yes, today I will be like a thorn in between two roses because not only do we have Susan Eisenberg as my co-host, but we have the dynamic Lolita Ritmanus joining us, 1/3 of the dynamic music partners. You may remember that last year we had Michael McCuistion and Kristopher Carter on talking about the music of Justice League. So we didn't get to have Lolita on. She was busy. She was out of the country, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
So she's now coming back to do the show and talk about the music, her origin story, how she got into it, and her background, and of course the music of Justice League Unlimited, especially now that the Justice League soundtrack has been released as of July 4th.
It's the first volume.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, very excited. We'll have more information for that as this show progresses, trust me.
All right, so should we grab her out of the green room?
Yes,
let's start the show.
Let's
start the show.
Here we go. Joining the show for the first time, we have Lolita Ritmanus. Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm sorry it's taken a while, but now we're finally here.
It's worth it for sure. I mean, we had your cohort here. We had Kristopher and Michael, but we really missed having your voice on here. So thank you for doing this, and let's jump in.
Right out of the gate, I got to say, the Dick Grove School of Music, I was looking at some of the names of some of the teachers and everything. Did you actually get to learn under Henry Mancini?
Well, he came in for a master class, but the answer is yes.
Oh my gosh!
And actually, with Henry Mancini, I have an additional story, but I may as well tell it. So when I was starting in the business, I used to type up letters of introduction to people and send out a cassette tape of my pieces, and looking for work, looking for input. And I got a letter. Now I don't know. He maybe just signed it, but I got a nice long letter back from him that I have in my folder. So it's like, apart from him teaching a little bit at Dick Grove's and also just being, such an iconic composer and one of the best melody writers there is, period. It's kind of it. I end up having the delayed goosebump reaction, as the older I get. It's like, holy, I knew this person. And Lalo Schifrin was somebody also that I was able to study with. So,
which it's extraordinary. I mean, looking at your background and seeing, how much as a child, like this all began. I mean, were you considered a prodigy?
Oh, I don't think, no, I don't. I never, that word was never used around me. I was just kind of this like strange little free spirit, with a funny haircut. My sister is 15 years older than I am, and she was a concert pianist. And so she was always practicing. My brother was 13 years older than I am. He played a little bit of bass, but my parents were really active in like going to concerts. And so since I was they didn't say I was an accident, but I certainly came quite a bit after my kids.
I can relate.
You're right, James.
They would take me along to all the symphony concerts they attended and movies, sometimes inappropriate movies for little kids. But anyway, I would be the tag along instead of them getting a babysitter. So,
right.
So music being a part of our lives. Also my Latvian heritage is very rich with a lot of songs. I think there's just folk songs and just singing in general being something that seemingly everybody sings in Latvia pretty much. Very few people don't sing. Even if they don't sing well, they still sing. So music is definitely in my blood.
So, but see, I was brought to the symphony. I was brought to concerts. I took piano, but I never took to it. It was never, and I'm so, people assume because of voiceover that I'm a singer, and I only wish I were. But there's a language to music that you speak fluently. And I just find that so special, and you can be exposed to it, and it doesn't mean you're going to take to it. So as I was reading your bio, I was just it was like thrilling. I mean, people can see my smile right now because I just think that kind of background, to have that kind of talent and to be able to tour the world with it and meet the people you've met and made the music you've made, that is iconic with my industry and with also just in general. What a gift that is.
Thank you. Yeah, I there are other things I like to do in life. I'm not one of these people that say like, oh, if I couldn't do music, I would be absolutely miserable. But I definitely always, from ever since I can remembering anything, it was kind of, I always thought of that's who I am, Lolita, I'm Latvian, American Latvian. I didn't really learn English until I started going to first grade because we spoke Latvian at home. I practiced the piano because that was just what we had to do. So I'm a musician. I sing, but there's so many things in life. I love to travel. I love hearing about other people. I don't really like to talk about myself all that much. I'm much more interested. I'd rather hear your stories than talk about myself. But I do recognize that there is some sort of, there's something in DNA. I mean, it's interesting. My husband and I, we have 3 kids. They're grown. They're all grown. 2 of them are professional musicians. One studied dance and is a teacher. But now we have a granddaughter who is going to be 2 in just a couple of days. And we're hoping that she'll be trilingual. But the thing that her language apart from loving swimming, the absolute most of anything, her language seems to be singing. Like she learns language faster when we sing to her.
Wow,
She'll just
that's
repeat
cool.
everything. She'll repeat. It'll be phonetically. And it's pretty close to being on pitch, and it's really wonderful. So there definitely is something sort of in there. I mean, my husband's a musician too, so And anyway, long story short, it's I think it's somewhere in there. So.
You mentioned
Yes.
going to the movies with your parents, being the tag along. Do you remember the first film that you saw at whatever age it may have been that you're like, the music just caught your attention more than the actors or the story of the plot and kind of made you have that switch in your brain, be like, I want to do that?
Well, I want to do that part, I can definitely identify. As far as music being a big part of things, I mean, going to the movies was a big deal. So, and also every year we would watch when Wizard of Oz came on TV, we would watch that. It wasn't on demand. It's like, when is it on?
It was an event. It was an event with no show. Yep.
The sound of music on.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, watching way too much TV. I watched all, Gilligan's Island. I could sing all those theme songs from that era. Partridge Family. I was a big David Cassidy fan.
Don't even start with David Cassidy. That we could have this entire podcast about David.
I had a poster on my wall, and I'm so sad I don't have it anymore. But it actually, my parents knew somebody at the auditorium where he was performing, so they got it. I had a poster that said, "To Lolita, I think I love you, David." So I practiced.
Amazing.
But the first really, epic thing for me was a movie called On Golden Pond.
Oh yes,
with music by Dave Grusin. And I don't want to cry talking about it, but I remember being in the cinema and just, you hear those first piano tones as the camera pans back and you see the lake and you hear the loons and the strings just, the strings grow out and I just thought it's just this perfect synergy between the visuals and the music. I mean, the music by itself is stunning, but the way it just made me feel every single part of that was just, I definitely held that as he was my idol for a long time. And I still think he's way underrated as far as historically. I think people don't necessarily, that's not, John Williams, of course, everybody thinks of John Williams. E.T., that was definitely a big thing. And Ennio Morricone, The Mission, Cinema Paradiso, Thomas Newman. And I have a story about Thomas Newman as it pertains to Justice League.
Oh.
So I was nominated for a Primetime Emmy for the Justice League theme.
Yes.
And it was kind of odd because it was a primetime category, but it was an animated project. It just was like, okay, it's kind of in a strange category to be alongside live action things. I lost to Thomas Newman. He won for 6 Feet Under, and I lost to Thomas Newman. So that was my okay, if I have to lose to anybody,
right.
losing to one of my idols, and I just recently was really fortunate to be able to interview him and his daughter for the SCL the site of composers and lyricists, and it was like, okay, I have to try to not be too much of a Chris Farley SNL character. Like, do you remember when you wrote that and you did this? And so, anyway, so kind of full circle. I was interviewing him and his daughter, who wrote the Lyle and Eric Menendez, The Monsters.
Oh yeah. God, yeah.
Anyway, so. Okay, more questions. It's like I could just ramble on. So.
I'm curious because you've gotten once the coming into working on Batman the Animated Series and getting in with the Warner Brothers, it's you guys kind of just blew up, and everything. I like the credits on your resume for everything from more recently Batman Superman Battle of the Super Sons all the way down the list. You're doing these DC showcases for various characters like Sergeant Rock and everything like that. Has there ever been a comic character that you have at any point struggled to find the sound for? Like you're seeing a drawing of this character and you're like, oh, what? Or does it just click in your brain as soon as you see a picture of something, what that should be?
Well, honestly, it's much more about working with whoever is the showrunner, whoever is the director, or not the director, but the producer. Usually in television, it's one of the producers usually. So it's sometimes how I perceive a sound should be for a character or a theme. Maybe the first time out of the gate doesn't gel with the showrunner. So that's more about just the craft, and also having a thick skin as a composer to just be able to say, hey, this isn't about me at all. This is completely about being true to the characters and being true to the vision of the particular filmmaker I'm working with. And that's I think, actors experience it, sometimes not getting cast for something because maybe one didn't do the voice that they could have done and they were looking for somebody else that did or whatever it is. So with themes and with sounds of characters, I've managed to block out most of the bad stuff. So most of the themes have seemingly stuck. Shirley Walker, of course, who is kind of the why I'm even here for sure. Why I've had the incredible fortune that I've had to be able to carve out such a long career. I mean, if I had sucked, I don't think I would be here. Of course, I'm not saying it only Shirley, but to have somebody so generous of spirit and talent and just her vision of helping those who she felt were deserving and those who could actually benefit from her guidance I think that's a very rare thing. So when she was working on BTAS, she did most of the big themes, but there were a couple of, like even little motifs, like for Poison Ivy, I had, it just went, Ivy, just those two little notes. So, and then there was like a seventh underneath for any music geeks. So like, doo, 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 little, so when we'd see Ivy, so Shirley would say, now to the other composers, when we have Ivy, you need to use Lolita's theme, you need to use her theme for that. So sometimes just a little signature, but she came up with so many great themes for BTAS that that was kind of the part of the glue that would help the whole team be able to keep it kind of cohesive too, to be able to use her themes, use her style of writing, and then take it from there.
Yeah, you can't tell your story without talking about Shirley. I mean, we learned that with Michael and Kristopher, when they came on and we talked to them. I mean, Shirley was, we talked about her quite a bit because without a Shirley, so many of you wouldn't have been brought into that fold. And I have to say, it's quite remarkable, like that you were working with live orchestration, like you were working with live orchestras. I mean, it had to have been the most magical time to walk into these studios and work with these orchestras.
It was, but blame it on youth for not really fully embracing how incredibly rare. I mean, nowadays it is so rare to
Mhm.
have for television, for
Right.
television, whether it's streaming. And I was so spoiled, I was, we had plenty of time to write the music that we wrote. We had time for her to review it, to orchestra, do a sketch, just do like maybe sometimes, and by that time it was all by hand. So now, people sit down at the keyboard, you look at the screen and you kind of improvise and get motivated. Then it was, you're looking at the screen, you have to do all the math, you have to figure out what tempo a scene is at, kind of at least where it starts. Then often write at the piano, and you're taking a pencil and music paper and actually writing out the notes. So here's and with animation, I mean, luckily not so much with the superhero animation, but with any of the, Scooby-Doo kind of things, or Wacky Races, or even some of the Teen Titans, where everything is just, footsteps and building up a big crescendo to a big explosion or something. All that stuff is timed. Some people think you just play some music and it works, but it's all synchronized. So that was all by hand. And then the next phase would be to orchestrate it, to put it on a big score. And then you say, okay, first flute player, you're playing this line, clarinet, you're playing this, first violins, all the way down the orchestra. Then each part gets hand copied. This is back in the old days. And then you put it in front of the orchestra, and then you get to conduct the orchestra. And
I can't imagine that. I can't imagine what that experience was like.
Oh, you should do it sometime. I'm sure you'd have enough. I mean, you could just we could put a click track on it. You could conduct. You wouldn't even have to conduct that much.
I'd be so curious, if you had had the opportunity to, and maybe you still will, hopefully you still will, what Wonder Woman's theme would have been had she had her own animated series.
Well, yeah. Well, Chris has a Wonder Woman theme, so we can talk. You can ask Chris about his Wonder Woman theme.
But while we're talking about themes, we have to talk about the Justice League theme, because it is one of the most special pieces of music to me personally, and it has. Whenever I go to Comic-Cons, Phil Lamar always has it playing, at our booths, at our tables, and every fan lights up. Every fan lights up. And I remember being in Seattle once at a Comic-Con, and I had the entire room like humming the theme. And it was so intense, and it gave me such chills. It is such an iconic piece of music. I don't know that people are singing the 6 Feet Under theme or their music. I'm not sure that that's happening, but
it's very cool. It's very cool. It doesn't necessarily, you don't necessarily hum it, but it's very cool. So anyway.
It's such a special piece of music. And knowing that you did that you created that, and that it lives on in all of our hearts. I have to say thank you, because this is the first time that I'm able to say that to you. Thank you for creating that piece of music that the 7 of us loved so much, but beyond the 7 of us, all the fandom appreciate and hold dear to this moment. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for doing what you do, and just the voices in general. I mean, that's the first music in a way that we hear when we're working on I mean, we see the pictures, but when we hear the acting, that's where it really comes to life. But, Bruce Timm he really knew what he wanted. This thing didn't come out of nowhere. It didn't come easy. So it took a little bit of doing. And then when finally we arrived at what it was going to be, just with a synth demo, there had been some budget cuts already. It was one of these, starting to lower expectations, like sample instruments are sounding okay, pretty good. So I was even kind of resolved to the fact that maybe we wouldn't have even live instruments. And then there was a gentleman by the name of Sean McLaughlin. I don't know if you know. Do you remember Sean? I know.
Yeah,
anyway,
I remember the name.
He was like an associate producer or a full-on producer, but he just basically said, Lolita, you have to have live musicians. Work up a budget for that. We have to have live. And so I was just so dumb to not even think to ask for that, because it was kind of like, oh gosh, well, with this budget, we can't do it. And so I really thank him for kind of pushing it over the top. And since, I mean, that theme, it's fun to perform it live. I mean, I've performed it at there was a concert down in San Pedro with the Golden State Pops, and I, conducted the orchestra there. And then I also had a chance to conduct it in Spain and in Poland at different film music festivals. So yeah, it's good. There's a journalist by the name of John Burlingame who writes a lot about he writes for Variety, and he follows film composers a lot. And it always, I remember when he told me that he loves my Justice League theme, he just come up to me, Lolita, I love your Justice League theme. And it's like, oh my gosh, coming from John Burlingame is like, that's high praise. So.
Yeah, well, and it is, I mean, James and I talk about it a lot.
We've been to cons. I know. I think I even sent Susan a picture. I may have been at GalaxyCon Richmond several years back, but there's the person who had sheet music, and it's printed on paper with the characters from the show. So there's the Justice League theme on sheet music, but it's got like the 7 of them kind of in the background behind it as a faded color out that you can see. It's amazing. Oh, yeah. People are buying it, framing it, and everything else. It's brilliant.
Well, that's brilliant. Whoever's making some money off of that, go for it. Go for it. That's awesome. That's
I
great.
have to tell you, I listened to an interview that the three of you did, and I loved hearing about you talk when you were talking about Bruce Timm and working with Bruce. It was just so, you were like, he loves me, he hates me. He loves me, he hates me. I mean, it was so darling to hear you say all that, because I think everybody, and Bruce way better than I do, or most of the people I know him, but that's how we all felt, like it was just everything to hear him praise you. And then when he didn't have that like warm look on that warm expression on his face, it was like, oh no. He hates me. I'm gonna be fired.
Crazy thing. I had full on panic attacks about Bruce, and I don't know if I'd have it now at my age. It's like whatever,
Right.
And it's interesting because I really do feel like if Bruce could have magically connected a chord from his brain to the orchestra, he really knew exactly what he wanted. And so that is sometimes difficult for a composer, if you don't have, you're trying to mind read as opposed to just having somebody who says, well, I trust you. Let me hear what you have. Let's give it a shot. And I have so much respect for Bruce. As a contrast, Glenn Murakami, working for him, like on Teen Titans, he was always so supportive and like, okay, well, that's interesting. And so you're going to have a live instrument on that. Okay. And then he'd just be kind of like this very curious person. He would very much encourage creative freedom. He wasn't a pushover, so he wasn't like whatever's fine. I mean, there's some producers that basically are just enamored with the whole process, and it's like whenever they hear music against what they've been working on, it's like, wow, this is amazing. So I don't know.
But if you're not a musician, is Bruce a musician at all? Is he?
He has a pretty good voice. I don't really know if he played any instruments, but I don't think so. I mean, we had a couple of, he would sometimes try to speak in some musical terms, but we developed some shorthand. I don't know if the guys already told you about Mr. Wobbly. Did they talk about Mr. Wobbly?
Does that ring a bell, James?
It doesn't immediately ring a bell to me, no.
Okay, so Mr. Wobbly was his shorthand for, when a violinist is playing just a long bow, it's just, la, da, da. But when a violinist is moving their bow really fast, that's called a tremolo. But to him, that became Mr. Wobbly. So sometimes when there would be some sort of a dangerous moment, and so we would use shorthand, like, oh, we have a little Mr. Wobbly, here. So
I love it.
Yeah,
because it has to be challenging to have in your head something you hear. And then how do you articulate that to the people who are going to create that for you? If you don't know, okay, so I want to, A minor seventh. I mean, if you don't speak the language, it's got to be challenging to express what you want.
It's always better to speak in non-musical terms. And that's what I mean, I teach at USC now in the screen scoring department. I teach a couple days a week for the master's students, and it's such a highly competitive program to get into. And my whole thing is to learn how to communicate with the filmmakers and to not use musical terms, to be able to communicate with, is this sometimes, for instance, like, oh, I need something to sound happy. Well, what kind of happy? Is it like happy, like, I'm going out partying happy, or is it happy, seeing the first steps my child's taken, or happy because, it's a different, you need to be able to dig a little bit deeper with non-musical terms and draw as much information as you can out of the director.
That's a great thing to teach.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I still am learning the hard way. I just finished a film. I delivered, my husband, who's my mixer, delivered the final stems to, and it's a feature-length film. And I recorded with orchestra in Latvia. And the director kept referring to the mood as being kind of a sweet, savory bread, like something that has and I'm like, okay, I just could not. I mean, I a couple of scenes I wrote like 4 or 5 times, and I eventually got it, but it's like, can you give me another term? Sweet, savory bread. I'm thinking, but it's difficult, but it's important for anybody who's listening to this, who wants to do this, to understand that it really, as much as we want it to be about our music, it's not about our music. It's about what will help propel the story, what will benefit the project as a whole, and also just, who's in charge, who's making those decisions of what the tone of the whole project is. And it's usually the showrunner.
So with the Justice League theme, I'm very curious your standpoint. I'm sure every architect who's, we want a building that looks like this, they have different ways they build the plans and start with the plans. When you've been given kind of, here's the sound we kind of want, how do you start? Is it the piano? Because you mentioned, and we're going to bring the flute line in this. Do you kind of, okay, now that we've got this bass, we're going to add the woodwinds. How do you go about crafting it specifically for the Justice League theme?
Well, there were some visuals already in mind. So as the whole, as the team is like moving forward, out of those shadows. So there had to be kind of a big kind of intro, but there's not a lot of time. So I'm a big melody person. So if I can't remember a melody, I mean, some themes aren't so much about melody. They're more about a kind of a sound, a vibe. But I knew I needed to have a strong melody. I work at the piano, but I'm already hearing in my mind, it's certainly not going to be the piano. It's going to be, French horns and, and strings. And then, when, is it the batarang that's thrown? No, there's a moment where it just explodes.
Like Superman busts through the wall, I think.
Yes, that's what it is. The busting through the wall. I'm getting my superheroes confused here. But when we bust through the walls, then it really takes off, So, yeah. And they're also looking for a little bit of a nugget of something that can be quoted just, I mean, all you have to do is, and that will know that Justice League, hopefully.
We have a couple of guests, it looked like, and I was just told, Gary told me they're waiting in the green room, Susan. I'm going to Gary's got to go get them real quick.
Gary's our intern, our fake intern.
Shh, he's real. So we're admitting at this time the other 2/3 of Dynamic Music Partners. We've got Kristopher Carter and Michael McCuistion joining us. Hello, gentlemen.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Oh, there she is, the star of the show.
That's the star of the show. How long has it been
everyone.
since we've wanted to meet her? So it's terrific that she joined us. And thank you guys for joining us as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Are you kidding?
Just before the two of you came in, Lolita, I want you to finish your thought. You were explaining why women make better composers. Go ahead.
I'm not going to argue. We all studied with Shirley Walker. So
Yes.
We did not talk about the women thing or the advocacy or any of that. I did talk about Shirley and we just kind of wrapped up a little bit about the basic, the theme and just.
Cool.
Yeah. So, but I said, I'm not going to talk about the soundtrack until the guys are here. So.
Oh.
And it's so exciting. That was just released July 4th, I believe, correct? Was the new soundtrack was just released?
Yes, we liberated it on July the 4th.
Okay, tell us how, I mean, I was so excited to see the post when Kristopher posted it on his Instagram page. I immediately put it in my story because I just was so thrilled. Tell us how this all happened.
Gosh, I mean, the soundtracks, a lot of the music, I mean, first of all, to step back, Warner Brothers owns the music that we create. There's no question about that. And they're the ones that have to say yay or nay. Okay. And in the last couple of years, just all the different things that have to fall into place for the right people to say yes have. And we couldn't be more thrilled that Warner Brothers has given us their full backing and permission and blessing to share this music with the world. It's been asked about for years and years and years.
Yes.
And so the fact that we've been able to present this music to everybody just means the world to us.
And there'll be several tracks that people have never heard. I mean, that's also, I saw was like a big deal in this, that people, I think you said 3 hours of never released music is on this.
Isn't that insane?
It's insane. And I'm so excited for the fans to be able to just put this, to have that. I mean, what a gift.
Yeah, we've really wanted to be very comprehensive in the way that the music is released, because we're so grateful that we had a partnership for many years with La La Land Records, and they released a 4 CD set of music from Justice League, which already was just crazy, and we love that so much. It's sadly out of print now. It's a limited edition of 3,000 units. But even that 4 CD set only had a smattering of music from the series. And our philosophy, which I want Mike to talk about for sure, has been to allow fans of the shows to enjoy almost every bit of music that we've composed for these series for the first time away from the picture.
Yeah, it's such a different thing releasing digitally than it is to release an album, on a physical album on CD or LP or whatever you're going to release on vinyl, whatever. We kind of brainstormed about this technology and what it could do. And what we decided was, because it's a digital release, we're going to release as much music as we possibly can so that every different person listening can make their own playlist that they want to make, and they can create their own albums from the music that we release. So we're not intending to present this music in a format that is, like an album. We are intending to present them, the music of the show. And then if they have a favorite character, they can go through and cherry pick all the different cues that relate to that character's storyline. They can make, I'm so sad. I need some contemplative music today from, John Jones, or they can be like, I really want to soar with Superman today. So they can, you can make a lot of different albums. You can have more than one album made up of this music from the same series, but it can be your album.
Or
not our album, but your album.
All about Wonder Woman, right?
Yeah,
right. All about Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, for a month, and nothing but Wonder Woman. That we just had this idea that fans are some of these fans know this music better than we do, honestly.
Oh, that does not shock either one of us, because I have them sending me their versions of the songs, and it moves me to tears, because they spend so much time trying to learn these songs, and then they play it on their violin or
the cello.
The cello. I mean, James and I both have shared that with people, and it's so touching, because the fans of the show who are also musical, that's their goal. Like, I'm going to learn that Justice League theme. And they do, and they master it. It's beautiful.
There's a guy now. What do you call the thing, Chris, that guy's playing with it that you blow into, and he played the
melodica.
Melodica. There's a guy now that's been sending me video, and I responded to his Instagram. He's pretty much been taking everything he can find that I've written, and he records it. And I comment, and I'm very touched by it. I'm very, very touched by it. And it's like, he's like, is there any more available? And it's like, well, I guess I should put out all the melodies I've ever written in my life, and here you can play them on melodic. But it is very touching. Chris, can you talk about your Wonder Woman theme?
I can.
Well, Kristopher, I asked because we were talking earlier how, Batman and Superman have animated shows and they subsequently have their theme music. And I was curious what would you conjure up for Wonder Woman if she had her own animated show, which I hope she will have. I mean, I'm hoping that's in the future for her. And Lolita said, "Oh, Kristopher has a theme for Kristopher knows." So, would you share a little of what?
Well, I mean, one of the things that made Justice League so special in general was that the idea that everybody had a theme.
Right.
And, obviously because we're talking to you, I'm happy to talk about the Wonder Woman theme that I came up with. But I mean, all of us ended up contributing different themes to the series. And Mike has a wonderful Green Lantern theme. And was it Green Arrow too? You had lots of green in your music, Mike.
Green Arrow when we got to Unlimited.
Oh yes, but yeah, it just happened to be that I did a Paradise Lost, and which was such a Wonder Woman story. Bruce allowed me to create that signature motif, and I continued to carry it through. It was just my it was all based on your characterization of Wonder Woman, that she's strong and she's wild in a way, and yet and heroic and good, and just everything that you brought to that character, I think came forward in the theme, which was excuse me, a lot of times it was in the French horns, and it went dum bum da da dum 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 ba da da dum dum ba da dum bum bum da da da. But when she leaves the mascara at the end of Paradise Lost, it actually turned into this an elegy to what she's losing and walking away from the island, but the same music, just in a different way. And that was what we did for all of the character themes in Justice League. I mean, that's just one of them, but we had a theme for everybody, because we had come under Shirley's tutelage for both Batman the Animated Series and Superman the Animated Series. We did decide to bring across those character themes. But most of what we did in Justice League was entirely new and original to that series.
Bruce wanted new. To differentiate. But yeah, I had mentioned earlier about just how, like, when we were working on BTAS, how we had a few little nuggets that were our themes, that we used a lot of Shirley's themes, throughout BTAS. But yeah, Justice League was definitely that was our big launch of us, right? Kind of,
Well, and in the interview I watched, you were talking about retro rock, like how it was classic rock with the JLU, with Justice League Unlimited, how there was like a change up, and it was like a faster, the music was very, very different than had Justice League had been. And it was interesting hearing you talk about Justice League having been like almost like a movie for every, because they were 2-parters or 3-parters even. And then you get to Justice League Unlimited, and it's like, wow, okay, we're going to have to save the world in 22 minutes every time. All right, let's go. And just how you hit the ground running with all of that. It was fascinating hearing how you approach this. And I have to tell you, when James and I have done this podcast now for a while, we talk about the music all the time. And it is just so fundamental to the storytelling. And it is not lost on so many of us and so many of the fans, the motifs and I'm not even a music, I can't speak the language, but when you hear those notes that come around, and, the once and future thing, I think, like, there was such great music in there, and we talk about it constantly. I'm sure the fans are like, all right, we get it, the music, but the fans also feel that way, because it just couldn't be more integral. And I just love that it's paid attention to in the show, and that the fans know the music cues.
I was just at a comic book store yesterday, buying my new comics, or no, Wednesday, not yesterday, but new comic book day. Some of the guys were talking about the Superman music that we just saw in the new movie. And they said there wasn't enough, I would have liked to have heard more of the John Williams original, because it's just iconic. And I said, the Batman Beyond episode where he first fights Ink, when Bruce shows up in the goggles and the hat, and he busts out in the bat armor, and you get that swell of the Batman animated theme song that comes in. that's a standout moment. I can picture that whole thing, the whole sequence in my head because of the music, and both guys in the comic book show go, oh my gosh, you're right. I love that. That's the kind of music that you guys have throughout the entire, because 3 random fans, I mention a scene and everyone's like, oh yes, that's your guys' music. And you get that in every single episode of Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. So again, hats off to all 3 of you. It's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mike, didn't you find a website where people had cataloged all the different themes?
Gosh, I don't
Probably
remember
because
that.
somebody did that, Kristopher.
But yeah, I mean, there was
That was a website. I think that was our friend Paul who's categorized it. We have a very dear friend who knows every single cue, and it's amazing. Yes. It's like when you come across people that really intimately know your music definitely way better than I do for each scene. I mean, because when I'm writing, I write it and then I move on. Yeah, and I'm not watching the episode over and over again afterwards. I mean, I rarely watch. I mean, I don't know, Mike and Chris, how often you rewatch all these episodes, but it's like the real fans. I mean, I have such love and such admiration for people and the kindness that they've shown us over the years, at different events and whatnot. It's just, it really is moving.
Well, also, I think, this can't be overemphasized. These shows were part of people's childhoods, and these shows made such an impact on people. And I mean, I get told all the time, this show was my childhood. And so that music is part of it. And, that association never goes away. And I just, it's just lovely. It's just lovely. I mean, James, right? James is like, we couldn't be bigger fans of the music of the shows. We'll have the writer on and we'll have the directors on. But we never fail to mention the music cues in every single episode.
The writers and directors usually end up doing it too. They're like, oh, and the music for this part, because they're excited. So yeah, the 3 of you, your names are, if your ears are ever burning, it's probably because we're recording an episode of this with Stan Berkowitz or Dan Reba or someone like that. So
those guys are so wonderful.
Yeah, and we've gotten to talk to so many of them, so it's really been a pleasure. For people who are trying to get a hold of this, what's the best way to buy it, to get it? The new release of the music.
It is on most major digital platforms out there.
Okay.
It's on Spotify, it's on Amazon, it's on Apple Music.
Okay.
It is possible to buy digital copies both through Amazon and iTunes, the iTunes store.
Yes.
Of course, Spotify is just streaming. But if they go to our website or our social media, we have a single link. Let me see if I can find it before the end of our chat.
Sure.
We actually have a web page that has all the different platforms links to all the platforms collected in one place, so you can easily get it. And we have those for all of the albums that we've been releasing. So it's usually something. I'm going to find it before we go.
And also, people should know about the website anyway. I know we mentioned it the first time you were on,
yes.
But people, I think it's important to let people know about your website.
Yes,
but
yes.
I would suggest that the true fans that really want to have it forever and ever, sure you can listen to it. If you have a Spotify account, you don't have to pay anything. You want to buy a copy so you can download it and have it on, because it may not be there forever. I mean, there's certain contractually I don't know how many years it is, things have to be renegotiated, and that's just how those things are. So if you want to have it and have it forever, download it so you have it on your, buy it and download it. But we want, mainly we want people to listen, but if you want to own it forever.
And I'm a big physical media guy. I still go out and buy the Blu-rays, and I was searching everywhere. Like July 5th, I'm online like, why can't I find a physical copy of this? But that makes sense because there's probably so many hours of this music now that a physical copy was out of the question, I guess.
I mean, it would be like 9 or 10 CD set for each volume.
I fail to see the problem, Michael. I fail to see the problem.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. But it's honestly, people just, the market has changed so much.
Right.
It's changed until it reverts back. Now people are like interested in cassettes again.
Yeah.
Of course,
VHS. Yeah.
Vinyl is a big deal.
Yes.
I think it's cool to have physical media, but at the same time, it's like, that would prevent us us from releasing at the level that we want to release, just for legacy purposes and for the fans. So digital is great that way.
Well, I mean, that was part of the big plus to doing a digital release. We talked about it. This is part of our brainstorming session. Why is this special? What can we make? How can we make this special? How can we make this not just another release? Mm-hmm. And the answer, of course, is that with digital, it doesn't take up any physical space, and you don't have to worry about how many discs it's going to be. You don't have to worry about the cost of producing the physical media, and you don't have to have any approvals on the artwork, and you don't have to have any approvals on the text, and you don't have to worry about the credits and who gets front cover and who gets back cover. I mean, it's really, really complicated and very expensive. And so we're just like, well, gosh, the floodgates are kind of open here. Let's take advantage of that. And so that's what we've really tried to do. And we tried to make it something that's a different experience. It's not the same as a physical, owning a physical and touching it. It's not the same thing as that, but it's a different experience that you couldn't have any other way.
Yeah. I was curious. I was sampling some of the tracks, for the past week or so. And I was curious with the title of each different piece throughout each episode. I know, like we talked with Kristopher and Michael last time we had them on for Justice League, how one would take this episode and you kind of break it up and split it up amongst the three of you. The final title for a track, is that decided by this is the theme? Do one of you guys assign that? Does the producer assign the title of the track, like Diana Fights Superman or The Verdict or Hawkgirl Holds Her Own? How does the title decided upon? I was just curious about that.
Gosh, I think it really depends on from project to project. It used to, historically, it would be the music editor who would be sitting at the original spotting sessions and would actually make up titles of these pieces. And sometimes it would just be, hopefully it would be something descriptive that wouldn't be a complete spoiler, But sometimes it is a spoiler and it's like, shoot, we can't have a spoiler on the counter. We got to change the title. But we've tried to not change too many titles except for spelling corrections. Sometimes something was misspelled, but just every piece of music travels with its original title. And that also has to do with, when it airs with the show, there's a royalty stream that, is our part of the way we earn a living is when something airs on TV or streaming or whatever. And so it's an identifier. So we tried to keep those identifiers the same. But yeah, as I've gotten older, I've tried to make my titles shorter and less on the nose. It's like, I don't need to have it exactly like Batman discovers toolbox at the bottom of the well.
Ironically, that was my favorite song right there. See, yeah. I had Batman.
No, and when you said spoilers, I was thinking like Hawkgirl betrays the League.
Yeah.
It's like, oh,
exactly.
Yeah, no.
If it's some kind of bad pun, it's probably mine.
You're a pun guy?
With my cue titles, I will tend, and sometimes I'll get into a continuation, like several cues in a row will be something like this, or Hawkgirl does this, and then Hawkgirl does that, and then Green Lantern does this, and you can see kind of the logic of linking it all together. I'm insufferable. I can't help it.
Well, these two have been sticking around you. I mean, the partnership has endured. So I'm assuming you're doing something right, Kristopher. They haven't gotten sick of you yet.
He's so kind.
Never. I have to say it's this, people often ask how we've been doing this together for so many years. We just grow, we evolve, we try to, we are very supportive of one another and on all of our various ventures that we do, whether it's together or individually, but just to have that mutual respect and also, a pretty darn serious set of rules that we've created for one another, each other. We actually have worked. It's not just like, we get together and write. No, we've actually thought through all these scenarios, why sometimes bands break up and why, people generally what they would fight about and why they would break up. And any scenario, we've worked it out. And it continues to be such a wonderful adventure. And we're each other's biggest cheerleaders. So.
Is
Well,
one of the
I'm their
rules no
biggest
eating
fans.
Cheetos while you're playing the keyboards? Is that one of the rules?
Sure.
Yeah,
Why not?
the orange dust gets everywhere, I'm told.
Yeah.
No. If you want to eat Cheetos in your studio, it's fine. We each have our own studios. We each work in our own spaces, so you can do whatever you want in your own
Yeah.
space. But
Yeah.
but truly, like I'm their biggest fans. I adore their music. I have so much respect for them as composers and what they write, and I can listen to their music over and over and over and always hear something new. And who wouldn't want to work with someone like that?
Just having somebody who has your back, sometimes, and it's having somebody to share the really incredibly wonderful moments with, and also somebody to take a little bit off the edge off of when something maybe, when you see that something's not going right at a preview, and it's like, oh boy, that piece of music I wrote that's 4 minutes long is not, so and so's not liking it, and it's like, and you have somebody that can kind of feel your pain and then help you get through it, and it's not such a big deal anymore, So yeah, it's a great thing. I would say to anybody entering this business, build a support system around yourself, build people that you trust, that you admire, that you love, that you'd like to work with. Don't try to do it by yourself. Even if you are doing the actual creation by yourself, which we do, the creation by yourself, but the actual, carving a place for yourself in the business, have that support system. It's really, really important.
And you each have your own endeavors as well. Like you have things that matter to you each individually, and you're able to do that within Dynamic Music Partners. Like if you have something you want to do in Latvia, or you have songs that you want to record on your own, you go off and you go do that. If you want to tour, you're each allowed to do all your, you all have your own individual ambitions as well.
Absolutely. We support one another. And the nice thing is too, it's like, it's a fairness thing too. It's like right now we're not currently working on a big series, but at times when we'd have 2 or 3 or more projects going on at once. And let's say, when my dad passed away the morning of when we recorded Justice League Fatal 5, right? With the horns. Was that the day?
That's right.
Yeah. And I was on my way to the session, and I get the call, and I had a little guardian angel, him, on my shoulder saying, well, just go at least conduct for a little bit. So I conducted for the first hour, and then I said, guys, I have to leave, I have to get back to the house because my dad's passed away. And it's like knowing you have this backup, it's like they're there, they're helping.
But I love that voice says, go conduct.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah. And and Chris has had so many of these incredible, really cool projects, some very successful horror films and indie projects. And, it's like, if you have to take off for a little bit to do that, and we're in the middle of a show, it's like, okay, Mike and I will cover it, we'll do it. And then when you come back, you can do a little bit more so that we can, take a little break. So,
I know our time is running out, but I just had a quick, and this isn't quick, but it jumped out at me when I was researching all of you. It just feels like there's composing, there's orchestrating, and there's conducting. And all of these combined into what you do. Is there a favorite one that you just can't imagine your life without orchestration or without conducting or without composing? Or are they all have an equal parts in your heart?
You guys start.
I think of all 3 things when I'm doing each one. When I'm writing, I'm thinking of how it's going to be on the podium, and how the music's going to unfold. And I'm thinking about who's going to play these lines and these melodies and which instrument, and that's orchestration. And and when I'm orchestrating, I'm thinking about why did I write that way? And I'm thinking about, oh, well, it'll play better on the podium if I have these instruments play it. When I conduct it, it'll be easier. And then when I'm conducting, I'll be like, oh, I remember why I wrote it that way. I need to make sure they bring that out. Or if the orchestration is not quite right, I'll be like, I need to shift this orchestration on the podium while we're recording. As we're recording, I need to make that change so that it will play better overall. I can't separate them.
Chris?
I think that's a beautiful way to answer it, honestly, because it is so much inextricably a part of who we are as artists. I mean, orchestration is painting with the brush, So it's like we're composing this music, but then we're going to paint it, and the conducting part is putting it out on the canvas. And it's interestingly enough, the composing is the only thing that we have to do ourselves. Like, we have to compose, we have to write the notes that tell the story of the music. That's something that only we can do. We can actually have another person orchestrate or another person conduct for us, but it's kind of down to us to be the composer of creating the music.
Sure.
But just given the fact that all three of us are trained orchestrators, trained conductors, it is a big part of the way that we compose too. So I think Mike just nailed the way that
could you have this job without having been trained in all three of those things?
Well, people do that. I mean, there are very interesting voices now that aren't trained, that are self-taught, coming up with very cool music in their own environment, and then they have an orchestrator. If they have a live orchestra, they will rely on a professional orchestrator that can then take their music and kind of plus it with the live instruments and have a conductor doing it. I'd say that's a very, very common thing right now. And just briefly for me, composing is the main thing. I mean, I've had other people conduct my music, and I'm always like a little jealous, like I really want to conduct it, but I've also enjoyed. There was a short film I did where Amy Anderson conducted, 2 projects with Amy Anderson where I wrote music, but she conducted it. It was her production, so she wanted to conduct it, and I got a lot out of that. And we've worked for years with Larry Wrench, who's an incredible orchestrator, but we're not saying, oh, here's just a piano sketch and you decide what instruments you're playing, but he is taking and putting all the details based on what information we give. So having somebody, having a professional orchestrator that can help when it's really busy, it's a very integral part of our job. It's great to be able to concentrate on writing the music and then say, okay, here, put all the little details on.
Thank you for answering that, because I was just so curious when I was reading about the three of you and hearing your interviews. It was such a pleasure.
And not to mention hearing the soundtrack, available as of July 4th for those of you listening. That was a extreme pleasure as well. I've been having it on all week long in the background. My dog actually is humming it now. So that's how long I've had it on.
Yeah, I mean, understand this is volume 1 that covers just the first 13 Justice League episodes.
That's insane.
So,
wow.
I guess we've kind of staked the claim that if there's a number 1, there might be a number 2. It does make a difference how well it's streamed and listened and purchased. So please, if you're passionate about enjoying this music away from the episodes, we really appreciate the support and seeking it on the different platforms. I sent in the chat for this recording. There is a link to how you can find the music on all your different platforms. And like I said, thank you so much for helping spread the word about it.
Yeah, and if you're listening right now, we'll make sure to put that link in the show notes. If you're listening to this podcast right now, the show notes usually talk about who will be on. There'll be a little link down there you can click on. It'll take you to the site that Kristopher was talking about. So go for it, kids. Go get your music on.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh gosh,
thank
Lolita,
you.
Thank you, all of you. Yeah. Thank you. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
We appreciate the time. Yeah, Kristopher Carter, Michael McCuistion, and of course, joining us for the first time, Lolita Ritmanus. It's been an absolute delight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And they're off to their respective corners of the world. So fantastic to hear from all three of them. It's great to get Lolita on. I know we had Michael and Kristopher on last time for Just Justice League, but we wanted to have her on too. So to get all three of them, that was great.
That was so great. And I feel like I couldn't stop smiling. I'm still smiling. They're just so terrific. I like them all so much. And their talent is just huge.
Yeah.
And the fans love them. They love the music. I love the music. We talk about it all the time. So that was joyful. I'm so glad we got to do that and to promote their project.
Yes.
Which is fantastic. I love that there's a release of this, and hopefully there'll be more volumes to come if we support it.
Yeah, no, I was going through the list as I was listening this week. I'm like, wow, they're still on this particular, Secret Origins, but that's a lot of tracks for Secret Origins. And I kept going. I'm like, no, but it makes sense now that he said, oh, this is just the first 13 episodes of the first season. I'm like, wow, that's insane that they had that much material. It's incredible. And I'm so excited for all the listeners out there to go get it and download it and listen to it. It's absolutely incredible.
Absolutely. And I want to go back and listen to Wonder Woman's theme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were a couple. There was Diana Fights Superman. Diana Steals the Idol. There's a lot of ones that are titled with Diana. I thought it was interesting. I always saw the ones I looked at anyway, Diana Fights Superman, Diana Steals. It wasn't Wonder Woman. So that's interesting. I wonder, that's one of the things I didn't get to ask was, did you guys differentiate any music for if it's a Diana scene versus a Wonder Woman scene? If there were a difference in the orchestration or the composing thought process, but we only had them for a short amount of time. I think we got some great questions in though.
Yeah. And I could have had them on for another, hour, but I also am so aware that, they are very busy and which is why it took us so long to get Lolita on the program. Yeah. She's traveling and working and, it's hard and also to coordinate among the three of them. Right. So, wowza. I'm still buzzing. I thought that was great. I hope, I know the fans will love it. All right. Now what?
Now, next up, we've got making his Justice League debut. Here he is. No, we'll save that for the next show. We won't bring him on yet.
And who knew our intern was named Gary? What?
Well, we had to fire Kyle. You remember what happened with Kyle last week?
I know. I didn't want to. Yeah, that was tough. That was tough, but listen, he had to go. He had to go.
No, I've never seen someone get that bit of clothing stuck in a Xerox machine before. But hey, you know what? You know what, Kyle? I appreciate the hustle. Our office keeps growing. Now we have a Xerox. Before Susan was saying the baby grand in the green room where Michael.
I know. I love that they were just like playing in the green room and playing the music. It was great. And God, Henry Mancini, stop it. I saw something about Burke Backrack in her notes and I meant to ask her about that. So I didn't get a chance. Oh, well, we'll have to have them back again.
I guess so. That's our lot in life.
All right. So, let's do our business. Let's tell people to subscribe to the podcast.
Please. And
to please leave a review. We did get a couple of new reviews on there.
Yes, thank you so much.
I was really thrilled to see that, but we want more.
We're greedy.
We're greedy. And also, we talked about our Patreon and that we've launched that. And so, if you love what you're hearing and you want to support it, please, subscribe. We have a link for that. Right?
Yeah, we'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. So if you're listening, there's two links, one for the soundtrack that Kristopher sent and one for our Patreon. So if you'd like to support the show, if you really like what we do, help us do it more better, I think is the way the kids are saying it these days, aren't they? Do it more better.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so let's get to the social media stuff. People want to find you. I don't know why they would, but let's say they do. How would they find you, James?
Well, once they get past the restraining order, Susan, they can go to geektomeradio.com and they can see all the downloads of the other episodes. I shouldn't say downloads, the other shows that I've done with various people from the pop culture realm. I've actually, way back before we started this podcast, I had Dynamic Music Partners on talking about the music for Young Justice. So you can catch my interview with them from 2017, along with a bunch of other people. Or you can follow me on social medias at Geek to Me Radio on Twitter and Instagram and Threads. I'm starting to do more on Threads. I feel a little more comfortable there. Like I'm kind of, coming into my own. So if you want to follow me on Threads, I'd love to get to 1,000 people before the end of August. So hit me up on Threads.
Wow, look at you. Well, I am on Instagram and Blue Sky, and I also have a website, SusanEisenbergVoice.com, and it was very sweet. Somebody reached out to me to thank us for the podcast and to tell us how much they're enjoying listening to it. Aww. So thank you. I love those emails. It makes my day. And I will try to, reach back to everyone who writes. So that's how you find me. And also you can find, the latest podcast episode, Apple, Spotify, on my website. There'll be a link to send you there. So, come on and visit and see where I'm going to be. I have a Comic-Con coming up. You'll see it there. So yeah, SusanEisenbergVoice.com.
Perfect.
What else we got?
I think that's it for now. I mean, that's more than enough, isn't it?
That's more than enough. All right. Well, listen, everybody. Listen, kids. We so appreciate you listening to us and joining us for these conversations. And just please stay tuned because the conversation continues.